Okay, this lecture is about creating a pie graph using a categorical variable in Minitab. Okay, so this time I'm going to look at the variable type food and do a graph that talks about a pie graph that talks about the distribution of type of food in the restaurants. And so I'm going to start by doing a graph of a pie chart. And the first thing I want to notice here is that there's nothing to pick from. That's because Minitab is expecting you to answer this question first. Are you doing charts from counts of unique values like we have in this data set, or did you create a summary table first? We are right now going to start with counts of unique data. If you choose this other one, it's fine. It kind of goes back and forth. But for now we're going to do charts of unique values. As soon as I put my cursor in this box, all the variables show up. Okay, all the categorical variables show up, which would be all the numeric variables as well as all the text variables. I'm going to pick type food. Once again, you can either double click and it'll go over there automatically, or you can hit the select button and it'll go over there. Okay. Let me go through the buttons pretty quickly. There are pie options, which just basically tell you how you want to order your slices. I don't usually worry about it. Where you want the start angle to be. So in a pie chart, it usually starts with the vertical right at the top of the pie and moves clockwise. And whether or not you want to combine slices. Quite honestly, I don't do a whole lot with this box, so I don't worry about it. Labels asks you for your titles and asks you, which you can change on the fly, or slice labels. These are labels that go on the outside or the round side of the pie, such as the category name, the frequency, and or the percent. I do like to add the category name and the percent, and I'll show you how to get to this once again after the fact. So I'm going to cancel out of this for the moment. Multiple graphs we're not going to worry about. Data options is going to be important if you want to exclude missing data. And so once again, you would go to data options, group options, and deselect the missing as a group and the include empty cells. Right now I'm going to leave it in there so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so quite honestly all I did was come in here and pick the variable and say OK. You see I get my chart. It's got 4 values because it has 1, 2, 3 and the missing category. A couple choices here. I can either edit this legend box to get the values in there, or I can put the legend kind of on the round side outside of the pie. I kind of like it on the outside of the pie because then I don't have to kind of go, gosh, is this one or is it this one, or especially when the colors start to fade together. And so I'm actually going to show you that slice labels option. If you do a right mouse click and go to add slice labels. So you can add slice labels right here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the category name and the percent. You can put the percent frequency too, but it gets a little bit busy, so I tend to put the category name and the percent and say OK. If you want to draw a line from the label to the slice, sometimes that's helpful. I'll put that on there for now so that you can see them. Okay, not too bad here because we have good separation. Now notice it still says 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, if I had changed these, they wouldn't have changed over here. It's not a dynamic link. So once I have them around here, this becomes a redundant thing, so I'm going to just highlight it by clicking on it and hit the delete key and gets rid of it. Now the pie chart looks pretty good. It's percentages of the 279 restaurants, but the labels 1, 2, 3, and 4 don't really help us a whole lot. So if I want to edit this, it's a little bit of mouse sensitivity here. I would like to click on one of them, so you see all 4 get highlighted. Single click, so it's a single left click on it again. Gets just this one highlighted. And then finally a double click. Get you to the one, which I now know is fast food. Now to do the second one, you click and then you double click. And I'm going to tell you that 2 is supper clubs. And I'll come over here. This is other. And the star means that it's missing information. Ooh, my typing. Okay, and there you go. We would change the title, of course. So the title here might be types of restaurants in Wisconsin in 1979. Okay. And when you're all done, you can do a right mouse click here and you can send your graph to Word. So mine's in my Word document now. I think it's in there. I don't know where it went. Wait, no, that's not good. Let me try that again. Oh, it might have gone to my other document. Yep, I didn't want that, so you got to make sure it's in your active document. That's my active document. So now once again I'm going to try that. I'm going to right mouse click, send my graph to Word. It goes to your active document. So actually I'm going to close that one. Okay, so there's my graph. Okay. Simple enough. Let me kind of go back though and review that these percentages are based out of 279. Notice that this is missing information. And you can see that the value is 4.3. If I actually add the frequency counts on here, see that there are 12 in here in terms of the frequency. So these is this cell, this percentage is 12 divided by 279. This is 113 divided by 279. Later on, we're going to get to a point where this missing information isn't very helpful. And what we'd like to see is the percentage of information that we do know. And so instead of 279, we'd like to divide it by 267, omitting these 12. Now that's not something we can do immediately on this graph. So if you want to omit the missing data so that your percentages are out of the data that we know something about, then we have to do one of the options. We have to go up to pie graph here, and we have to go to the data options, and we do have to exclude the missing data. So when I do that, and I'm going to go to my pie options here, my slice labels, I'll put the 3 in here. So I want you to, we'll kind of compare them here. Let me make this smaller. You can see that when I'm in this graph, this is 42.3%, but when I'm in this graph, it's 40.5%. So the percentages have changed because the missing data is missing, is been eliminated. Once again, I'm going to omit this. If you wanted to edit it, you'd highlight it, then you'd highlight in each one, and then you double click it. Like I said, I typically put mine around the edges so I don't worry about that. I do have to kind of come in here again though and change these. Now, if you're going to do that, you really should talk about the missing data. So this is types of restaurants. You don't want to just hang and say, oh, there's 279, so I'm going to actually add a footnote. Add a footnote that says 12 restaurants did not provide information. And now I have a graph that I can once again send to Word. Okay. So that's how we create pie charts if we have a data set with all the data in it. But suppose all we had was the summary information. Suppose they had only told us, in sentence form maybe, there were 113 fast food, 77 others, 77 supper clubs, and 12 restaurants that didn't provide information. How could we do it then? Well, Minitab allows you to use this summarized information and create a new worksheet. So I'm going to open a new worksheet. I'm sorry, I'm going to get a new worksheet. So new worksheet here. And I'm going to say, oh, okay, the type was fast food, supper club, or other. Depending on if I want the missing information or not missing information, I'd put it here. I'm going to skip mine, and then I'm going to give it the count. And so there were 112, 77, and 77. Let me see if I got that number right, though. 113. So I'm going to get my... So suppose they had just given me sentences so that all I could do was construct this frequency table. Now I can still create the pie chart. Okay? The only difference is when I come up here to pie chart, instead of charts of unique values, I'm going to tell it I have charts from a table. I'm going to tell it that the categorical variable is the one that tells me what my categories are. So that's type. And my summary variable is the one that gives the counts. And then notice I still have those same options here. And I can say OK. Looks pretty good. Notice that here's a difference in that the words actually show up because they're actual words in my table. I'm actually going to get rid of that. I will put a better title on this again. I'm going to add my footnote again. No spell checker, so you got to be careful. And we've got our graph. Okay. So we can create graphs using data that they give us in the textbook or data that are in a data set. And as long as it's categorical data, we can create the pie chart.